Yeah, now I do.
Thank you so much for the introduction, and thank you all for actually attending my talk. Being the person that goes after lunch is always a little intimidating. I'm sure a number of you have the itis. I know I do. So I'm going to try and keep this really light and high energy for you all today. It's really a pleasure to be here. As many of you are, I'm a very social person. I like meeting people. So the last 2 years have been tremendously difficult. Just being locked away inside and having to do the success thing through a screen. So to be in this room with a bunch of other professionals and hearing all this really inspirational talk has just been a really, really cool experience. So I'm very, very glad to be here. That said, I've been talking to you all and you're probably like, who the hell is this dude? So my name is Scott DeZilo, as you are all aware. I am a vice president of customer success at a tech startup, or really not a startup anymore, a tech company called Braze. Braze is a multi-channel marketing platform that allows our various clients to send any sort of digital communication out to our end users in a real-time, highly personalized manner. We send SMS, push notifications, emails, in-application, in-browser messaging, really anything that's sent through a digital platform, we can send. I can pretty much guarantee, I'm a betting man, I'm in Vegas, might as well, right? I can guarantee that everyone in this room has received a message from Braze at some point, which is a pretty cool thing. I could also pretty much guarantee that probably 90% of you actually have our technology on your phones right now. So we're everywhere, but you don't really know about us. Our goal is to send incredibly personalized experiences on behalf of the brands that partner with us. And our journey at Braze has been a really phenomenal one. I had the pleasure of joining the company back in 2015. I was employee 51, and at the time I was one of 4 post-sales people. So technically I was in customer success, but I was a part-time salesperson. I did all of our technical support. We onboarded and integrated people. I mean, back then it was such a scrappy startup. We were really hungry for our next meal, and everyone had to do something. Today we are a very, very different company than we were back then. We have over 1,400 employees across 8 global offices, and also have over 1,500 customers across 60 different countries. Nuts. I mean, I truly remember where for a while we just didn't know if we were going to keep the lights on for the next month. That said, from a 51-person company to where we are today, the story of Braze has been one of growth. Very continual growth, which I'm super, super privileged to have even experienced. And what was really critical to us throughout our growth was making sure that we had very well-defined customer segments and making sure that we could then customize our actual success plan to match those different customer segments. We almost on a yearly basis review our customer segments, make sure that they're still valuable and meaningful. And a few years ago, I was really focused in at developing our customer segments. At a high level, when Braze first started, we kind of had 2 large customer segments. There was our commercial business, which was a bit more of kind of the modern day companies that you know of. They were companies that are less than 1,000 employees. They were founded probably after 2001. They have modern day tech stacks. They're nimble, they're fast, they're bought in on the vision of Braze from day one, so they just need to get things to market as fast as possible. The other customer segment was enterprise. These are customers that are over 1,000 employees, probably founded before 2001, and therefore come with a lot of legacy technology and a lot of organizational debt. And not only do they need sort of technological change, but they need organizational change. For me, I've always been focused on enterprise customer success. I love it. I get a total thrill by landing that huge logo, that next really, really big upsell or renewal. And that's pushed me forward for my entire career. A couple of years ago, we were sitting down and trying to think through where enterprise was going. I was running our enterprise team out of our New York headquarters, and it became very obvious that delivering success to a 1,000-person enterprise company is entirely different than delivering success to a enterprise brand that has 20,000 employees across the globe. And that's really what has become my fascination over these last few years. How do you give success to a large multinational corporation and make sure that you're hitting everything that you need to? We've talked a lot today about one-to-many customer success. It's very important. We have an SMB team at Braze. They do God's work. I'm here to talk about many-to-one, where we have lots of resources actually dedicated towards one huge Goliath account. And that is sort of where I'm going to dive into my chat for the rest of today. That said, my wife told me that if I just talked about work, that I'd be really, really boring. So my one fun fact for you all is that I'm a huge dog person. So really quickly, just to humanize me for a minute, here is little Scott 7 years ago on my first day at the job. That was like pretty much half of our company at that time, and today I don't think I can even take a photo with the whole company. And this is Moon, my long-haired dachshund. If I had my way, the rest of the presentation would just be photos of Moon. But I'm not going to put you through that, so if you can come back to me after this presentation, I'd love to see your dog. I'd love to show you photos of my dog and talk about him. I love him to death. But anyway, we're here to talk business. When we think about building sort of a really specific program for large multinational corporations, it's about giving success to what we define at Braze as global strategic accounts. The Global Strategic Account Program at Braze is a very, very specific program. It is 20 accounts that make up 20% of our total revenue as a company, which is kind of nuts when you think about it. Any one of these brands any one of these brands are brands that you have interacted with on a day-to-day basis. They're huge, huge, huge corporations that have their hands in many, many different facets of business. And they have a lot of very, very unique customer challenges. So if we think a little bit about those different customer challenges, the first one is pretty obvious to everyone. They have tons of stakeholders. These brands go across the globe, and they have different business units, and the politics are outrageous. When you have 20,000 people in one company, they are bound to bicker like none other. So navigating all those different stakeholders, finding the right stakeholders for the right moment is a big, big challenge. Coupled with that is the fact that these are global companies, and they expect global support. They want to make sure that when the sun rises and when the sun sets, wherever they are on the globe, they have somebody that they can reach out to, and somebody that's knowledgeable, deeply knowledgeable about their global business. These companies also have really old tech stacks, maybe tech stacks that started decades ago. Many of our customers have things like databases that they set up back in the 1990s that are living alongside modern day tech like Braze, and they just do not talk really nicely to one another. So often from a servicing perspective, we have to think about marrying kind of the old with the new from a technology, which requires a very specific type of success. In addition to having tons of internal stakeholders, there's a million external stakeholders as well, right? So all of these companies have a total fleet of consultants and agencies and temp workers and people that are gonna come in and only be with you for maybe a few days. But all those people still matter. And it's all about meeting the overarching business goals. So you not only have to manage your day-to-day stakeholders and the people that bought the contract, but you need to manage all the other people that were brought in to help support it as well. They also have very specific product requests. Every single one of these customers is a special, special snowflake. They all believe, and rightfully so, that they are the most important brand in Braze's portfolio, and therefore they want us to build something that reflects the way that their specific business operates. So they have very, very specific product requests that we need to work through and navigate and set some expectations on. And then finally, all of these companies have been sued out of their minds. So they have very, very robust legal and compliance teams, and they are very risk adverse. In fact, legal and compliance becomes a normal fixture in almost every single one of our conversations, and being able to manage your day-to-day stakeholders alongside a risk-adverse lawyer is a unique skill. So really, what I'm trying to say is that these customers are really finicky. They have tremendously high expectations and tremendously high demands, which means that the investment that it requires to actually service these accounts is quite high. So I can like hear my finance team screaming in the distance, like, why would we invest in this? Well, there's lots of reasons. The truth is that this is a great segment for Braze. It's a huge segment. It's 20% of our business. If we were to lose any single one of these accounts, we would have to report it during our quarterly earnings, and it would be a big, big hit to our revenue. The other thing, though, is that these brands have tremendous growth in stickiness. I mean, their NRR and GR numbers just completely blow out the rest of our customer segments. And the main reason for that is that they're primed for growth. Almost always when you look at these customer segments, we get pulled in by one brand. There's like one person that takes a risk on Braze, and we get in there and we do something really, really cool. We create a case study and we use that as leverage to break into the rest of the organization. So that means that our actual growth has been pretty tremendous when you think about it. The final thing is that these people are satisfied, right? More satisfied than our regular customers, which I'm glad to hear. At the end of the day, we're throwing resources and talent at them. And hopefully that actually nets out a much more positive experience in working with Braze. So not only is it a unique challenge to service them, but we get a lot of benefits here at Braze by fostering this, this customer segment and growing it on a pretty regular basis. Now, to service these actual accounts, we have had to totally change the way that our business works. At Braze, we have a lot of siloed departments, and pretty much every single account in our commercial and enterprise segment has two people that stay on that account always. You have an AE, who is the commercial leader, driving upsells and making sure that the contract's all good. And then you have a CSM, who's there making sure that the strategy is constantly being emphasized and pushed forward. There's going to be plenty of instances where the AE and the CSM can't necessarily solve something on their own, and so they're going to pull out one of these different departments to come service them, right? So marketing is going to come through with different event activations and case study development. Our alliances team is going to bring in partners and consulting firms to build out sort of managed services and things like that. Our data services team and our industry solutions team will be doing in-depth analyses and consulting projects for each one of our different customers. But all of these are kind of on one-off little instances for the rest of our customer base. Not so with GSA. Rather than having all of these various sort of broken out teams, we've configured a cross-functional pod of talent that is assigned to each one of our accounts, meaning that each one of our GSA accounts gets access to all of these departments with named resources. These are people who are going to be dedicated to understanding their business and driving things forward on a very, very regular basis, which is very cool when you think about it. It means that we can bring a level of expertise and highly, highly customized white glove service to all of our various accounts. And that is really why we built this program in the first place. We wanted to make sure that all of these 20 accounts did feel like the most special brand in the world and that they get the entire benefit of the Braze experience. I have been building this team over the last 2.5 years. It started as an evolution from our enterprise organization. Now it's its own carved out department here at Braze. And it has been a total saga getting it to this point today. I wanted to take today as an opportunity to share with you 6 high-level tips that I would give to anybody who's looking to build out these strategic teams at any of your different companies. And the first one is frankly pretty straightforward. In fact, I've already talked about it a little bit today. You really are here to build multifunctional teams filled with experts. That is so important. A lot of success is about being a generalist, being able to be thrown into any situation and speak to anything at any given moment. And that's a great skill to have. But with the investment that these sorts of accounts require, we can bring in people that can go really, really deep into a very specific area. It also means, though, that we can start building pods of people that exist across the world that bring expertise regardless of what time zone that you're in. So what does this actually look like in real life? So I'm going to show you the account team structure here for a large multinational quick service restaurant. You have all eaten there, I am positive. They have 3 main regions that they sort of think about their business. They have their Americas team, they have their EMEA team, and then their APAC team. And you can see within the structure here that we have pods of people of similar talents across each one of these regions, working cross-functionally to deliver support to this individual brand. This is great. It makes sure that we have people on the ground that are there, that are experts, that can really drive things forward without there being a time delay. But what's particularly important about this particular slide is right up at the top, that central team. Almost all of our global strategic accounts have a centrally located, largely exec-led team that is driving organizational change at these various businesses. They recognize that institutionalizing a new piece of software like Braze across a global company is a bit of a nightmare. So you need somebody that is bought in at headquarters, someone quite high up that can make an edict from above and standardize the experience across different regions. That means that we actually need to service that executive team like they are an actual customer, just like each one of these regions. What also is very important in all of this is that all of these teams are talking with one another on a regular basis. Things that happen in APAC are relevant to the US, and then we need to report all of that up to the central team. So all of these people need to be able to communicate with one another in a really, really streamlined manner. What we're able to do, though, is by breaking these out by sort of different audiences that we're speaking to, is deliver servicing, great servicing, in the region that they're in, but we can also start to bring in talent that's reflective of the cultural nuances and distinctions of the various business units of our different accounts. This is really important, especially when you consider the fact that selling a hamburger in Japan is functionally different than selling a hamburger in the US. It allows us to have expertise that goes quite deep and reflects back the incredible global nuances of each one of these businesses. As we're thinking about building these teams, though, almost a lot of the people on the screen that you see here are very, very senior talent. They're highly specialized people, but that gets expensive. Hiring the best of the best is not a really scalable model. So, to enable us to still have expert servicing, but also make sure that we have the appropriate boots on the ground where we need to, the next recommendation is to build account partnership teams across junior and senior CSMs. What does this actually look like? Well, let me introduce you to two people real quick. On the left here is Miss Taylor Gibb. Taylor was one of my very first hires at Braze. She's incredible. Please don't poach her. She is one of our most senior talent that we have at Braze, and she is truly an expert into CPG. She has deep, deep expertise into enterprise servicing for the last 6 years, and Taylor has been given what I would describe as one of our most challenging GSA accounts. This account is in the health and beauty sector. There are over 50 brands in their portfolio, and many of those people are not technical. So it requires a huge amount of coordination at the top level of the account, but also on the bottom level, where the end users of each of those 50 brands need a lot of hand-holding and support. Taylor's job is to drive that executive alignment, making sure that we're hitting our large business goals and meeting strategic goals as well. At the same time, though, we need somebody there that can handle the boots on the ground day-to-day responsibilities, and that's where Madison comes in. Madison De Jesus is a new hire of ours, actually one of our very first customer success specialists. And Madison is a great talent in and of herself. She comes with 3 years of SaaS sales experience, but has never done success, and realized that she needed kind of a boot camp-esque experience to teach herself how to do success. So what we've done is we've paired up Madison directly with Taylor. They work on all the same accounts. They meet pretty much daily. They are tied to the hip with one another. What this does is it becomes a really symbiotic relationship. Taylor has all of Madison's help to make sure that the plates keep spinning and that no balls get dropped at any point in time, and Madison gets to learn from one of the best CSMs we have at the entire company. It creates this flywheel of talent as well that's really important. I know one day I am going to lose Taylor. She is too smart and too wonderful to not go off and see another job or to go into a manager position or whatnot, and I'm thrilled for her. And whenever that time comes, we will have Madison waiting in the wings to step into that next position and to grow into a Strat CSM role. That is awesome. And it really creates this sense that everybody is growing together, everybody's career is kind of advancing, and it builds mentorship into our model, which is really important for a team building perspective and talent building perspective, especially when you have so many people working on one account. So we've talked a little bit about like these large companies. We've talked about the fact that you have these huge account teams all over the globe. We've talked about the fact that Madison and Taylor are working with over 50 brands across the world. And each one of those accounts that we're working with is a unique challenge. So you really need to make sure that every single one of those people working across the globe is communicating well with one another. So this is definitely the least sexy of all of my recommendations, but it's so important. Investing early into an operational tech stack is vital, mainly because information symmetry is the name of the game here. If you have 18 people working on a brand across the globe, they all need to have the same context, the same goals, the same objectives that they're driving to. And if any one of those people is not on the same page, the likelihood that they introduce risk into the account is quite high. So we invested very, very early into a tech stack that would allow us to share information across all of our various team members and centralize it into one place. There's lots of different tools out there. Many of them are out in the actual sort of atrium area where you can go see their vendors. These are the people that we invested in and the people that we really partner with. At the core of this is Catalyst. Catalyst is a customer success software that I call Grand Central Station for client information. It's the first place that you go if you need to know anything about how an account is operating. It has product usage information, contract details, every single note, every single recording that we have is linked out of there. It's a great first place to start. If you want to do more in-depth analyses, really dive into the numbers, see how product usage is driving client sentiment, we have Looker and Snowflake as our databases and data visualization layers for us to build those analyses ourselves. And then we have Salesforce as kind of our constant record of communication. Pulling all of these together was really important for us. But I think what was most important amongst all of these are all very flexible tools. Because we are a relatively new team at Braze, we've only been around for a couple years, we have changed our workflows a million times. And we purposefully built tools that allowed us to change our workflows. You don't want your tools to define how you work, you want your work to define what tools you use. And making sure that those tools can meet you at the different stages of your life cycles, I think, is incredibly important. And making sure that we had partners that allowed us to do that was really critical to our success. The next recommendation is creating community around your most valuable clients. So every single one of these accounts, like I said, is the specialist snowflake. They think that they're very, very important, and they are. But they also don't have a real opportunity to meet other brands of their size. I mean, there's only so many Fortune 50 accounts. And so of those accounts, they really hunger to get learnings from other sectors and other companies that are as big as them. So it's really about finding moments where you can build a sense of community and reciprocity amongst our GSA accounts that allows us to create this kind of VIP program experience. We've been able to do this not by making our own events, but rather piggybacking on events that these people are already going to. Every single one of these conferences, at least 2 GSA accounts go to on a very, very regular basis. And that creates an opportunity for us to come in, have a very highly customized event, and create a super, super white glove experience. That also creates a safe space for each one of these brands to learn from one another, share insights, and to network with one another. That networking component becomes incredibly important because these big, big brands often share talent. They hop from one of them to the next over the course of their career. So finding ways that you can bring those people together and give them the common sort of throughput that hey, we all use Braze, we were brought together by Braze, creates a really lovely aura around the client experience that makes people feel like they are part of this very special program. Next, exec alignment is critical. No duh, right? I mean, that matters to every customer segment, but it matters even more with these GSA customers. Many of our GSA accounts have anywhere from 50 to 100 VPs. All of them have buying power. All of them have budgets. All of them are fighting over their little fiefdoms. It's really important to have a single executive sponsor, but it's really much more important to have 10 executive sponsors and to constantly be checking in with all of them. You also need to recognize that those 10 executive sponsors probably don't like each other all that much, or maybe have interpersonal conflicts in politics that they need to work out. If you can have good executive alignment, A, you can become a little bit of a work therapist, which is always valuable, but B, it shores up your risk tremendously. Almost any time something has gone wrong on one of these accounts, it has been an external VP or executive that we do not work with coming in and kicking our blocks to the ground. So the more that you can be everywhere and get in front of this, the better. And then the final thing, and again, relevant to everyone, but particularly relevant in this segment, is being really, really clear and upfront about what the program is or isn't. What I'm talking about today is deploying a team of experts into any one of these individual accounts. And oftentimes, when you are seen as a team of experts, you are seen as a skeleton key, a solution to almost any problem that a company might be having. We often have customers come to us and ask us to solve things that are far outside of our mandate. But we have to be solutions-oriented. We have to come to them and say, hey, the scope of our work is multi-channel messaging, but you want to talk about org design? You want to talk about the ways that you evolve your organization to take advantage of our technology? I guess we can be management consultants briefly. But you need to be clear that there's some things that we do well, and there's other things that we maybe aren't specialized in, but we can help to some degree or put you in touch with someone who is an expert. This is all about expectation management at the end of the day, and it's something that never stops. You constantly need to be reaffirming why this program is valuable, why they should pay a premium to be a part of it, and what we can help you with and where our services end. Otherwise, you will be pulled into every problem that the company has, and you will spend a lot of your time trying to solve issues that actually don't drive your renewal or your reputation and relationships inside a company. So, 6 tips and tricks, nothing too revelatory, but it does require a total shift in the way that you think about servicing accounts. We're all about scale, we're all about making sure that we're efficient with our money, but again, if you want these accounts that are going to grow to 10, 15, 20 million dollars, you need to ensure that you can support them on their terms. And that often means being very, very white glove in your servicing and being highly specific in how you give advice. So if any of you are in this and not focused on the SMB section, I hope that this has been helpful. I really find that this sort of specialized strategic success is not something that's very common in the world. And so if any of this is relevant to you or provide a spark of inspiration, I will be very glad. So thank you for your time, everyone. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Cool, so we have time for a few questions. So the first is, how do the senior and junior CSMs divvy up tasks, responsibilities, and who focuses on what?
Great question. It starts with contract level. So every single business unit, like a large multinational entertainment and travel and hospitality brand, right, has maybe 50 different business units across the globe. And those 50 different business units can all contract braze with different levels of service. We have some service that's quite low touch. Maybe we only talk with you once every other week, and then we have other sort of servicing models where we talk with you every single day. The easiest way that we divide this is anything that's a less frequent communication often goes really nicely to the junior CSMs. And anything that's like an executive relationship, a very consistent, regular communication is perfect for your senior CSMs. However, the biggest thing to note is that there isn't a clearly defined rule that you follow for junior and senior CSMs. Really, those two people should be talking every single day. They should be duos that are deployed and partnering off of one another's success. And so the actual act of divvying up that work should happen in the day-to-day and should be very strategic. There's moments where we were going to want that senior CSM to come into a BU that's maybe not spending as much money with us and do a really big dog and pony show. There's also times where like that junior CSM just needs to be thrown into the deep end and we need them to cover a pretty high-level executive meeting. If they're working really closely together and they have the same information, the same baseline understanding of the business, they should both be primed for success.
Awesome. Our next question is, who do you task with overall responsibility for expanding executive sponsorship networks and accounts? Is it the CS, the AE, cross-functional teams, your own execs?
Great question. And when you're building these cross-functional teams, every single task needs a quarterback. Everyone's contributing to those tasks, but one person needs to own it. For us, executive sponsors typically are an AE-led function. They're the people that started with the relationship, built that exec sponsor, and will see it through. Another thing to note with our Global Strategic Account Program is our AEs stay on the accounts forever. They do not leave. Because we are farming and we are not hunting, we can do that and make it work. And so it makes sense for those people that started the sale to continue that relationship through and to continue driving increased adoption and increased sort of executive stakeholder relationships across these BUs.
Awesome. Let's jump to the next one. How do you charge for professional services or consulting? Is it full support, no limit, hourly, et cetera?
Great question. Different services have different structures. So the way that it works with us is that customer success is built into a platform edition. You buy a platform edition that is reflective of both your customer segment, so we have GSA specific platform editions, and then within that you have different levels of servicing that you can get. You can have an advanced sort of group level of support, you can have what we call sort of our enterprise level of support, or you can have our most premium levels of support. Each one of those different servicings have different models. I'd be more than happy afterwards to sit down and talk with you in more depth, but our managed services are typically project-led. They often have hourly-based quotas, but really it's highly, highly dependent on the function that we're bringing in and what they're doing as to how we actually bill it and roll it up into the overarching contract.
Awesome. Cool. One more time for Scott.
Thanks, Joel.